Welcome everybody back to another great episode of the Three Man Rush podcast. And we're not going to do rushing tonight. We're actually going to do a little lead off hitting. And we have all three co-hosts here. If you didn't know, my name is Landon Oliver. I'm your host with my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Jared Holly. And boys, baseball is finally back. Thank God. Lockout is over. We're getting into the season. We're only, 2-3 days in at this point whenever we're recording this. So I know it's a little late, when you do the previews and stuff, but today we have our 2022 MLB preview, kind of similar to the one we did last year. And, we're catching it as the season is starting. So it's still too early to even know anything that's, it's not like we're going to be
2 days worth of games.
Yeah, exactly. So we know nothing right now. So we just wanted to get this out there, just a little fun show. Because I know a lot of people kind of checked out our fantasy baseball draft. So thank you guys for all that. And especially thank you to all the guys that checked out our rookie dynasty mock draft. We had a really good turnout for that one. So if you are watching the videos, just make sure, give us a subscription, make sure, hit the like button, kind of support us and all that. And if you are listening to any of the podcasts as well, also make sure to subscribe to us on Apple, on Spotify, on Amazon Music, any of that kind of stuff. Just, give your boy some support, but we're really thankful for all the support we've been getting recently. It's been really overwhelming. So thanks everybody. But that being said, like I said, we're here to talk some baseball for you guys. So why don't we get into it, guys? How excited are you that baseball is back? I already know Drew's answer, but let's lead it off here.
Yeah, I'll let Jared go first.
Well, at this very moment, I'm excited. As a Rangers fan, it's always fun at the beginning of the year. Towards the end, it's more when we go back to football season. But
oh no, it might not be that exciting tonight.
That's 8-8. Last I checked.
No, it's 9-8 Toronto.
Yeah, Lord, there you go. But no, it's always great, man. Like I think opening week is always like one of my favorite times of the year. Like it's Americana basically. Baseball is like, I know a lot of people feel like NFL is king, and I agree 100%. But baseball has always held a special place in my heart. Like it's always great.
Yeah, I mean, I love football. And the NFL has closed the gap considerably over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe more than that for me. But baseball still is and always has been my first love, my favorite sport. And NFL, the NFL hasn't quite surpassed that. So it feels really good to have baseball back and to be able to be talking about baseball again, to get to sit down for an hour or so and just talk about the season. I'm headed to St. Louis tomorrow. I'm going to hang out downtown St. Louis Saturday night, go to the game Sunday. So I'm thrilled that we're finally here.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, my birthday is on Monday. So I'm actually trying to convince my fiance to let us go up there on Sunday and catch the game as well. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm going to see if she grants me permission. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. Baseball's back. It's a clear second to the NFL for me. I'm just such a football junkie. But I do love baseball. My mom used to take me to games growing up when I was a kid. I had a cousin that actually played for the Cardinals back in the 90s. So we spent a lot of time up in Old Bush trying to support him and stuff. So I kind of grown up in the Cardinals atmosphere. And that's just, where my loyalty lies. It's always going to be the Cardinals. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I've actually got a game on right now. That's why if you see me looking over, I've got the Angels and the Astros game on right now. And I've got Shohei Ohtani and, some guys going in fantasy I'm trying to keep track of. But with that being said, we're going to get right into this. We're going to a full MLB preview, giving you all division winners in the NL and the AL, our World Series matchups. And then we're going to get into some awards such as Cy Young, MVPs, Rookies of the Year, all that kind of stuff for both parties. So, let's get right into the division winners. Let's go ahead and click that on. All right. And it's nice to see. I always feel a little bit better whenever I'm matched up with Drew. It makes me feel like, okay, like maybe I'm not so much of an idiot. And then it looks like Jared's actually got quite a few of the same as well. So let's just start, right at the top here with the NL East. So it looks like Drew and I both have the World Series champion Braves repeating in the NL East, and Jared has the Mets actually taking the crown there. So I'm pretty sure I know why Drew and I have the same pick, but I'm actually kind of curious that Jared doesn't have the Braves. So Jared, what made you kind of steer away from the Braves and go to the Mets here?
I think the Mets are a complete team. Also, like I'm a firm believer in it's hard to repeat. It's hard to win a division back-to-back years. As you can tell, we'll go into the wild cards, but I don't have the Braves like in the cellar by no means. They're still a really good team. I think the Mets have improved in the offseason. I think if they are able to get Jacob deGrom back and healthy, fully ready to go, like I think they're the best team in that division. I think it's gonna be a close race. That's definitely one of the closer races I see throughout the season in the East. Is definitely it's a good division.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if DeGrom can get healthy and be his normal self, that him and Scherzer, that's the best 1-2 punch in baseball by a pretty good amount to me.
Yeah.
All respect to Milwaukee and the guys in Toronto and stuff, but yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see. I think, for Atlanta, if you're gonna have to move on from Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson's not a bad alternative.
A pretty good consolation
I'm
prize
sure
there.
that probably really hurt Braves fans, but for the team itself, Matt Olson's an incredible player in his own right, and they got quite a few years younger at the position too. So, the fact that Atlanta did what they did without Ronald Acuna last year, and now you put him eventually back into that lineup. He's arguably one of the 2-3 best players in baseball. So I do like Atlanta to repeat, but I think New York and Philadelphia too, honestly, are going to be tough.
That's a tough division.
Yeah, right there at the top, it's going to be tough. Yeah.
Well, with my thinking too is like just kind of to piggyback off what Drew said. So mine actually goes to the pitching staff and most certainly the bullpen for me. So I think with some of the additions they made in the offseason, I think Atlanta might have the deepest bullpen out of anybody. There's 7, 8, 9 guy rotation, in that back end that I think can really ice some games for them. And then the top of their order too with Max Fried and then Charlie Morton. It's not quite, DeGrom and Scherzer, but it's still a very good 1-2 punch there for them as well. And that's just kind of what separates me is I think the bullpen of the Braves is a little bit better. And I think the Matt Olson signing is better. And then of course they get Acuna back as well. And until they're knocked off, I'm not going to pick against the World Series champs. So that's just where I go. But as you can kind of see with Drew and I, we do have the Mets still making the playoffs in the wild card. And kind of different with Jared as well, where he does have the Braves making the wild card as well. So now let's go into the NL Central. There's no surprise on this podcast. If you've ever listened to any podcast about baseball or almost any podcast at all, you already know what direction we were going to. It's not necessarily what my head says, but yeah, like I thought about throwing my jersey on, but I wanted to get done and get to recording. But yeah, so we all three have the St. Louis Cardinals winning the NL Central, which is the exact same prediction you're probably going to get every single year from us.
Season.
Every single season we do one of these, the St. Louis Cardinals are going to be winning the NL Central. And I think, Jared, is that a St. Louis Cardinals?
It is. That would be yours, honestly.
It is mine. From a game.
When you lived here, I think you left it behind.
Yeah.
I didn't even mean to. I honestly, God, didn't even know what cup I had.
Look at that. Look, even when we don't play it, we're somehow.
Even the Rangers fan can't help but grab the Cardinals cup.
I know. I think my hand got hot the moment I touched it.
Well, I left it there for a reason, just to remind him of 2011. So
yeah, maybe it should freeze instead of got hot.
Hashtag never forget. Game 6 for sure. So for me, of course, obviously it's just because we're Cardinals fans, but I do think they do have a legit shot to win the division. I think just the whole emotion surrounding, Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols coming back, Adam Wainwright possibly on his last leg is too. The three of those guys competing one last year together, one last ride. I think that kind of emotion can do wonders for a team, for a club. And I think that's going to propel them to a lot of victories this year. I really like Milwaukee in this division. That's who my head, like if I had a gun to my head, I would probably pick Milwaukee to win the division, just because I think the Brewers pitching staff is just really, really, really good. But I mean, yeah, I'm never going to pick against the Cardinals. So, I mean, that's really all I've got to say about that. Drew, is there?
I mean, so similar to Landon, I have been a Cardinals fan as long as I've been, as long as I've known what baseball was. It's what I grew up on, what I was raised on. So there's never going to be a season that I'm going to not pick the Cardinals to win the division. I do think Milwaukee still makes the playoffs, even if the Cardinals do win the division. Landon and I both have them as wild card teams, so it's not like we're saying Milwaukee sucks. But I do think, getting Miles Michaelis back, Dakota Hudson back, hopefully Flaherty, comes back and is his normal self. They didn't have Hudson and Michaelis for the majority of last year. So if they can get Flaherty right, if they can eventually get Alex Reyes right, they've got Jordan Hicks, so they didn't have last year as well.
Steven Matz as well.
Yeah, Steven Matz is going to be their 3 starter. Jordan Hicks, who was like a setup or closer possibility, he's going to be their 5th starter. Now they're going to give him a chance to stretch it out. So I do think the rotation is in a better spot this year than it was last year, especially once they get Flaherty back. And then, for all the nostalgia that there is about bringing Albert back, he was also dominant against left-handed pitching last year. So there's a role there. There was a need and a role on the team for that, where they had Corey Dickerson on the left side of the plate that could hit right side, right-handed pitching. And now they've got Albert for left-handed pitching as well, and being able to give Goldschmidt a day off here and there. So I do think that there was a role for him. It wasn't just purely nostalgia, but it is incredible for those reasons as well. I was ecstatic whenever I heard the news. And I mean, with it being the last ride for these guys, Wayno hasn't announced it yet, but it's kind of expected, the last ride for those 3 guys. I would be really shocked if a quality starting pitcher came available at the deadline, if the Cardinals didn't make a move to add another starter to this rotation, if things don't shake out with health and how they were hoping some guys would emerge and things like that. I would be pretty surprised. Most years, I'm not really surprised by what happens at the deadline, but this year, if something didn't happen, I would be pretty surprised to see them not try to make the most out of this last ride. So I'm, of all years that I could pick against them, this is not going to be the one.
Yeah. And two, I mean, and not even going necessarily with the pitching. I know you talked about a lot about the pitching, but let's not forget they probably have one of, if not the best defensive infield in baseball, and a lot of.
I think they've got the best defense. Period.
I was going to say,
infield
and the outfield is phenomenal as well. So yeah, their defense, and it was on full display against the minor league Pirates last night.
That's rough, man.
There's gonna be a lot of growing pains.
I mean, but the bullpen is strong as well, and then the offense is spotty, but it has the potential to be great if some guys can put it together. Like if Tyler O'Neill can put it together for a full season, which he looked great coming out the gate on opening day. But if he can replicate, anything close to what he did during that win streak to the end of the season, and then what he did to kick off this season, that's going to be huge. Arenado had another great opening day, and he spoke at lengths about how he thought that he disappointed last year. And even though I didn't certainly feel that way, that's why he is as great as he is. And I wouldn't expect, I would be surprised if he didn't have an even better season than he had last year. Goldschmidt made some changes to his actual bat itself, the end of the bat, and spring training is just spring training, but he tore the cover off the ball all spring training. So it would be really nice for this offense. Goldschmidt has kind of been a slow starter in the past. So but he always ends up with incredible numbers because he just ends up, tearing it up once he does get going. And if he's able to get going earlier into the year, that's only going to help this team. And then you've got guys in the minor leagues like Nolan Gorman and guys like that coming up that can also fill spots and produce and bring offense.
Goldschmidt, a guy that hit 500 in spring training, which I know wasn't a long spring training, but that's a heck of a start.
Yeah, so I mean, there's reasons to be excited. I could sit here and talk about the Cardinals all day, but we're going to talk about the entire MLB.
I am curious with Jared. So, with Drew and I, we do have Milwaukee here in the wild card. Jared throwing a little bit of a curveball out here and having Cincinnati in there, which, you know, I believe Ken Griffey Jr. is the 6th highest paid player on the roster this season.
I think
the Reds, man. I mean, you know, they lost a lot of firepower.
This would certainly be surprising.
This
You're
would
right
be
about
a huge
that.
shock. So what made you kind of go that way, Jared?
First and foremost, the best player on the Cardinals is Dylan Carlson, in my opinion. I love that dude. Like, that's probably my favorite player for the Cardinals. I love
who?
Carlson.
Oh,
Dylan Carlson. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree that he's the best player, but
he's not the best player. He's my favorite player.
I can appreciate your love for him, though. He is a really talented, young player, though.
I think Cincinnati is going to surprise people, man. I think they're going to make good contact with the ball for one. Like, they can hit. They did lose some key pieces. There's going to be a guy that's going to come up. It's going to really later on in the show, I'll reveal that. But it's going to definitely squat out a whole lot, and he's going to make a lot of noise. I think they squeak in. I think Milwaukee's definitely on paper the best team in that division. Always have trouble trusting the Brewers for some reason too. They've won that division in the past, and they never make a run in the playoffs ever. But I like Cincinnati to squeak out a wild card.
Yeah, something in the water up in Wisconsin, because the Packers seem to do the same thing.
They'll win division.
This is weird. Yeah, they'll get there. They'll get in the playoffs. And all right, so to no surprise, now we move on to the NL West, where we all three have another clean sweep here, and that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. You know, to nobody's surprise, it's you know, I mean, I don't know what more you can say about the Dodgers that you haven't already heard a million times. You know, massive payroll, massive talent, just loaded at almost every single position on the roster. Clear World Series favorites, as they kind of were last year as well. So is there anything you guys want to touch in on the Dodgers here? You want to chime in on the Dodgers?
There's not much to say. Like, you pretty much named it. They definitely, I mean, the payroll for that squad is ridiculous, and they're stout in every position, and their batting and pitching is just, I mean, it's the best in the National League. Like, they've built the best team.
It might be the best in baseball, not even just the National League.
Yeah.
Drew, how you feeling about the Dodgers, man?
I hate this because they really are so good, man. Like, they lost Corey Seager, and it was like, oh, maybe there's some hope, you know. Like, I know they have Trey Turner, but they were talking about bringing Corey Seager back. They lose him, maybe there's some hope in the National League, and then they just go sign Freddie Freeman, and now they can move Trey Turner to his natural position at short, lose one left-hander in the lineup with Seager, and just insert Freddie Freeman. I mean, the rotation with whenever you have a pitcher that's good enough to surpass Clayton Kershaw in your rotation, you're probably in a pretty good spot with Walker Buehler, and Julio Urias is no slouch as well.
And that's not even talking about, maybe even if they get Trevor Bauer back this year as well.
Yeah, and I like Ryan Gosselin. I like Andrew Heaney, the free agency signing they get right from the Angels. I think he has a lot of untapped potential as well. This team's just ridiculous.
Yeah, they're loaded for certain. So now we will get into our NL wild card, which we did touch on the Mets. We touched on the Brewers. We touched on the Reds and the Braves. So we do have a little bit of a difference here. So Drew and Jared both have the San Diego Padres. I have the San Francisco Giants. So just, a hop, skip, and a jump down there in California making. So, with you guys, what do you see with the Padres? And I'll give you kind of my thoughts here on the Giants.
It's just a ton of talent. Like, it's going to come together at some point. And I think this could be the year it does. With the Dodgers being as stacked as they are, I don't see them winning the division, but I can definitely see them getting a wild card.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, for me, the Padres, the starting rotation depth was almost a weakness last year with all the injuries they dealt with, and now their rotation is healthy, and they added Sean Manaea to it. They're going to get Mike Clevenger back eventually. They got Darvish, Musgrove, Nick Martinez, Blake Snell, Mackenzie Gore, Chris Paddock. Well, they were moving Chris Paddock, but the rotation is just insanely deep. And then, obviously Tatis is going to miss a few months, but he'll be back eventually. And I think with the pitching depth this team has now, I think that I don't think they're good enough to catch the Dodgers, but I do think that they're going to be a better team than the Giants. I worry about with the Giants. I like their pitching rotation, but it's just
There's not enough bats.
yeah, that's what really worries me. I mean, Buster Posey's gone, Kevin Gausman's gone, and they're basically depending on Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt to duplicate the career years they had last year, and it's going to be tough. To where I think that, granted, I didn't believe in San Francisco this time last year either, so they could certainly prove me wrong again.
Yeah, I just, to me, it just does come down to the pitching. And I do really like the Padres, especially if Yu Darvish bounces back. He was dealing with some injuries last year as well. So he's certainly, can bounce back as well. But I mean, yeah, I just kind of threw a dart out there. I mean, not really much analysis, but I think the Giants,
the Reds, bro.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't. Yeah, that's a true dart throw right there. So yeah, I really like their pitching. I think they do have enough bats to make some noise, and they actually hit a walk-off today. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, let's go. They put up some runs. So if
they had to beat Miami, and I think Miami might be better than some people think too. Like whenever they had whatever you hear, like, oh, they had to walk it off against Miami. I think Miami's going to be better than. I don't think they're going to win anything, as you can see, but I do think they're going to be better than people think.
Yeah. All right. So now let's get into the AL, the American League. And this is quite a bit of a difference here. All right. So now we have 3 different teams winning the AL East. I have the Boston Red Sox. Drew has the Toronto Blue Jays. And Jared has the New York Yankees. So for the Boston Red Sox, for me, I just think, obviously they added Trevor Story there. And I just, I like a lot of their pitching as well. If Chris Sale comes back healthy, which has been a big if, the last few years for sure. But I think they could have a really strong rotation, and I think they're always strong. In the batting department as well. They don't have guys that, you might not have guys that drop 45, 50 home runs, but they have guys that know how to get on base. They have really smart veteran players, and it's just a veteran squad that knows how to win games. And I just don't want to count out the Red Sox here. The favorite for me is kind of like, with the Cardinals. My head says Milwaukee, but my heart says Cardinals. Well, my head actually does say Toronto in this division, and you'll actually kind of see why down here in the World Series matchup, because I really, really, really like the Blue Jays this year. But I just think Boston has a way, especially with that division. They play all those teams really tough, and they just never seem to go away. And I think whenever you get later on in the season, like I said, that's just a veteran squad that when push comes to shove, they're just going to be a hard out. So now, Drew, you do have Toronto winning the division, which was going to be my choice until I just kind of decided to be a little bit different. So talk to me a little bit about Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think this is going to be the toughest division in baseball. And I have 3 teams making the division, and one of them, honestly, is not the Boston Red Sox, and they're behind Chris Sale. Their pitching concerns me, and Chris Sale got put on the 60-day IL, and I don't really like their pitching depth behind him, and I don't like their bullpen at all. That they're going to score a ton of runs, but their pitching really concerns me. To where
not a Eovaldi fan.
Not a huge Eovaldi fan. No. I don't think it's like the worst rotation in baseball or anything, but I just, in a division this competitive, it was really hard to put them there with their pitching woes that I think they're going to have. Whereas Toronto, a lot of the focus is on the offense, but part of why I like this team so much is because they do have Jose Barrios, and they added Kevin Gausman, and they have Hunter Ryu, and my personal favorite that you'll hear more about a little bit, Alek Manoah, as well.
That's and then dude right there.
They put Matt Chapman. They grabbed him from Oakland to add to their defense and offense, and with an offense with Chapman and George Springer and Vlad Jr., Hernandez, Bo Bichette, what's not to like there. So
there's Springer out there too.
Yeah, I think they've got the best mix of hitting and pitching in what's going to be a really, really tough division. And honestly, it's not going to surprise it. Baltimore would have to win the division for me to be surprised. Outside of that, I'm not going to be surprised.
Well, there's
some good young people in Baltimore, though, man.
They have a bright future. They do.
Hey, look,
it's not
look,
now.
Boston, they got old man Rich Hill, who had a really good year last year. Okay.
Old man Rich Hill is there. They got Michael Walker as well.
Walker's there. Okay.
I don't really want to bank on that.
Well, I'm banking on it. So we have three different answers. Jared has the Yankees. I'll get to him, but I do want to say somebody will win this division, and there's a good shot that somebody on this podcast is going to be correct. So if you're listening, look, I mean, one of us is going to be right. That's what we do. We might not be right all the time, but somewhere one of us is right.
Until Tampa, wins the division.
Tampa. Yeah, exactly.
Because they're they absolutely do. Yeah.
Which, as you see, we all three.
Yeah. We'll talk about them in a second.
Yeah, we all three have three teams in this division making the playoffs. So, Jared, you have the Yankees. Probably not really hard to figure out why, but go ahead and give us your thoughts on the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, they're right up there with Toronto as far as bats go. I think at the end of the day, they've got a good mix of young talent and veterans that can definitely lead that team to success. Garrett Cole, I think he's going to have a great season. I mean, it kind of goes without saying. Garrett Cole's a great pitcher. I think he is the best pitcher in that division as well. Toronto definitely made this thing a lot closer. Before a lot of those acquisitions, I had the Yankees run away with this division, even with Toronto's bats that they had from the previous year. I still like the Yankees. I'm sticking with them. But I mean, I would not be shocked if Toronto won the division. But I can easily see both of those teams making it. And Boston definitely has a shot too. But I'm staying with the Yankees, man. I'm going.
Yeah, the Anthony Rizzo move already paying dividends for him. He went yard today, so
he'll strike out a ton though too.
He will do that.
He strikes out a lot.
Tough for me to praise former Cubs on this podcast. So yeah, we have three different winners, and then now let's move on to the Central, where we all three have the exact same team. Actually, for the Central and the West, we all three have the same three teams winning, and that is the Chicago White Sox in the Central. So just to piggyback off Jared, let's just keep it on Jared here. What are you thinking about the White Sox this year?
They're hands down the best team in the Central. Like, it's not even really close in my opinion. They're getting a lot of their core guys are back. I feel like that division is one of my least favorite in baseball right now. Cleveland, I don't
the Guardians.
I want to say the Indians so bad.
Well, don't do really, it on the podcast. We'll get canceled.
But by default, I think they win that division. I just don't think there's any other team in it.
I think the Twins are going to be better than people are thinking, but I agree though. I don't think that they're going to be division winning good. But I mean, Josh Harrison, AJ Pollock, those were a couple of nice pickups that plugged holes for him. It sucks that they're already missing Lance Lynn, but if we can just assume that that's where the injury bug stops for the White Sox, and they're able to have healthy years out of Yasmani Grandal, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez that they didn't get last year, if they can get health from those guys this year, that offense is going to be a lot better. So I think that they're the clear best team in this division as well. But I do think Minnesota might be better than people are thinking, but just not Chicago White Sox good.
Yeah, and I'm also on board with that. I think it's the White Sox, and then I do think it's everybody else. This is kind of the clear one of the very few divisions that I think is just kind of a wash on who wins it, and that is all health dependent, of course. But I mean, as you'll see, whenever we get down to our award show, I think very highly of Giolito. And I mean, if they can just stay healthy, I don't really see
Giolito gets hot, man. He's untouchable.
Yeah, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. So now let's move on to the West here, where unfortunately we do have the Houston Trash Cans winning that. All three of us do. I mean, the Astros, my bad. So Houston Astros, it seems like we're at this turn every single year where everybody's waiting for a fall off, and all they do is just keep winning and keep making deep postseason runs. And I don't know if this year's really going to be any much of a difference. I'm actually watching them right now. So, Drew, Houston Astros, where we at this season, 2022?
I really wanted to pick Seattle to win the division really bad. I fought off of doing it just simply because of the consistencies. No, I'm good. I'm all right. The consistency that Houston has shown over the years. Now that granted, we'll see if Kyler Tucker and Yordan Alvarez can pick up where they're going to be losing, some production from Carlos Correa. I mean, you flop Zach Greinke and Justin Verlander. Verlander's healthy. Lance McCullers, he's another guy where health is a question mark. So I think there is some question mark with their pitching, but I do think Kyle Tucker, Alvarez, and the rest of the guys in that lineup will be able to provide enough offense. But I don't think this is going to be a runaway, though. I really don't. I think this could come down toward the end of the year. And I think Seattle's going to have something to say in this division. We'll see what comes of the Angels this year. It sucks that there might be another year where we're not even talking about Trout in the playoffs. I would like to see it, but they're a tough evaluation. You don't know what you're going to get out of Noah Syndergaard. Ohtani very well could replicate what he did last year, but that's a tough bill to fit. The Angels, I want to see the Angels in the playoffs so bad because they have a lot of players that I want to see play playoff baseball, but I just still don't know if they've done enough around their core pieces to make it happen. But I'm very high on Seattle this year. And I think that this division will be closer than people think, but it was still tough not to pick Houston at least for one more year.
Yeah, I really wanted to pick the Astros here just because my love for Trout and Ohtani and those guys out there.
You mean Angels?
Yeah. What did I say?
Astros.
You said you really wanted to pick the Astros here.
Yeah, well, I didn't pick the Astros. I wanted to pick the Angels. Damn it.
I'm with you. I wanted to pick them with Seattle too.
Yeah, it's I just think Houston hangs on another year.
I don't really wanted to pick Texas, man.
Yeah, I know you did. I know that was hard. That was hard for you.
I just can't.
See, you're the opposite of us, where it's like no matter how bad the Cardinals get, I'm always going to pick the Cardinals. Like
I'm a realist.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Like you support your team, but you know where they're at.
And I'll pick the Reds, but not the Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. There's some pride. There's some pride in that. I'll pick the Reds. Sheesh. So yeah, it's man, I really want the Angels. I want to see Mike Trout in the postseason.
I think it'd be good for baseball.
I want to see Shohei Ohtani. Look, man, what Shohei Ohtani did last year, which if you listen to this podcast, your boy called it. I'm just saying, I had him winning the MVP before the season started. Yep. He won the MVP. I mean, the way that baseball has mishandled the way that they are thought of in the media and by fans and all that, Shohei Ohtani should be a household name in every living room in America.
Yep.
I mean, that you're talking about, like, that guy did something historic that has never been done before in any sport. I mean, almost any sport. I mean, maybe you could say Bo Jackson with football and baseball. But what Ohtani did last year, I mean, it was absolutely historic. And it's like most people just, oh, cool, that's cool. And they're like, that's it. And it's just like, man, like, you don't really understand the year he had last year.
The best thing that can happen to baseball is literally to have a playoff scenario where the Angels and the Yankees play. So you can showcase Ohtani, Mike Trout.
In the biggest market.
In the biggest market.
That would be
nice. The best thing that can happen for baseball. Aaron Judge, too, I think is like, he's a
very marketable player.
And that's the one thing baseball has trouble with, where the NBA, even, which I know we're not as high on it by any means, but it markets it.
They do a better job marketing players than the MLB does, without a doubt. God, the MLB is a joke with
the best thing that baseball could really do is replace Rob Manfred as commissioner. That would
absolutely
be the best
thing. Maybe get somebody in there that actually likes baseball.
Yeah, exactly. How are you going to have a
part of the job
prerequisite? How are you ever going to have? Which I think we said this last year too. But like, how do you have a commissioner?
We're going to say it every year until he's no longer commissioner.
The sport. How do you have a commissioner that hates the sport? It just doesn't make any sense.
if the world championship of your sport is ever referred to by the commissioner as a hunk of metal, he's not the guy. You're not that guy, pal. They need somebody else in there. And it's mind boggling to me. It sucks. The sport is suffering because of it.
People can say what they want about Goodell or Silver for that matter.
They're both fantastic.
Goodell and Adam Silver are miles ahead in terms of commissioners than Manfred is. It's not even close.
Yep.
Yeah, give me Bud Selig back. Jesus. And even that's kind of a stretch.
He has his flaws too, man.
Well, that's all I'm saying. Even that's kind of a stretch. I'd take him over Manfred, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So now that we have done that, let's go through our AL wild card where Drew and I do have the Yankees. We do have the Rays. Where we differ is I have the Blue Jays in the wild card where, Drew did have them winning the AL East and Drew has the Seattle Mariners. So Jared also has the Blue Jays, he has the Rays, and he has the Mariners. So we're all kind of there except for me with Seattle. I think Seattle's another year away, but I think they're building something really good there. I really like that team. And
I'm pulling the trigger.
It's basically the difference. Like you have Boston and we have Seattle. That's basically the difference. Like in terms of the whole entire American League playoff picture, those are the differences. You have Boston, we have Seattle.
Yep. And next year it will probably look the exact same as yours. I think some of those young guys need a little more. See, like Kellenick and like some of those other cats out there.
I think they're ready, man. I'm stoked.
I drafted him. I hope he's ready.
Yeah,
they added Robbie Ray, which the front end of the rotation was in such a need for like a top end arm. So they went and got the AL Cy Young winner from last year. They added all stars Adam Frazier and Jesse Winker. They've got a Gino Suarez they brought in as well. So the outfield is one of the most fun to me with Jared Kelenic and Julio Rodriguez. You'll hear more about Julio Rodriguez in a minute, but those two are very young, exciting players. And then you've got Mitch Haniger, who I think is one of the most underrated players in baseball as well. And then you've got other young players like Matt Brash and Cal Raleigh that I think that this team has such a great mix of veteran players that they brought in through free agency, plus the young homegrown talent that I think this is the year that they challenge Houston for the division. And if they don't catch Houston, they're at least going to end. It's the longest playoff drought in baseball. It's time for it to end. Seattle deserves it.
I would love to see Seattle.
I look, this is
my favorite player in baseball history is a Mariner.
This is my American League team, man. And this is another, it's not, the bias is not near as strong as the Cardinals, but I was born in Seattle. My dad worked up there for a long time. I have small ties to Seattle and I hate their football team, but I have always, since I was a kid, loved their baseball team. And whenever I was really young, that was purely because of Ken Griffey Jr. And then as I got older, it was just kind of something that stuck with me. And in the American League, this is the team in the American League I pay the closest attention to. And I love what they've done in terms of bringing in veterans to fill needs and having this incredible homegrown talent that I think is going to be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm very excited about Seattle. So I could not pick them to run into the playoffs this year.
I think this is the year. I do. I think the drought ends. And they were like, I've always been a Rangers fan. I'm from Texas, but my thing was with Seattle, it was Griffey. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, a young Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, A-Rod was so good.
They were a better version of the Angels.
And we can't not talk about Ichiro as well. We're going to talk about their history. We can't not talk about Ichiro. I got a lot of love for Seattle.
Those teams were so much fun, man.
Yeah, and I think they're back to that fun level now. I really do. I mean, there's not a Ken Griffey Jr. on this team, but listen, Julio Rodriguez getting the nod and getting to start in center field as young as he is, like a lot of people thought possibly he starts the year in the minors just because outfield wasn't necessarily a need for Seattle. They have good outfield depth. Julio's special, man, and this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm so glad that the Pittsburgh Pirates need to take notes. All right, because the fact that O'Neal Cruz is starting in the minor leagues this season is criminal.
I love it, dude. I don't want the Pirates to take notes. All of them keep doing what
They
they're
need
doing.
to see what Seattle's doing with their young players and empower those guys and let them shine, because Julio's ready and so is O'Neal Cruz, but Pittsburgh is not giving him the option. But Julio's going to get to shine, and I'm excited.
They're gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's as long as those young guys come along. Like I said, my whole reasoning was just I think they're still a year away, but if those young guys come along, that's going to be a really good team. And regardless, they are going to be a really fun team to watch. Somebody who, as somebody who has, MLB.TV, the pass and all that, they will definitely be a team in my rotation quite frequently on that. So now let's get into our World Series matchup with our World Series winners. Drew and I both have the exact same World Series, I believe.
We all three have the same National League representative.
Yes. Yeah, which sucks.
It does.
But if you didn't know, that would be the Dodgers. If you're watching on YouTube, you already knew this. You probably looked through this and you're just like, oh well, that's their predictions, and then you're checking
Click.
out. But yeah, exactly. But look, man, stay a little while, enjoy us, because we still have our awards to get to, and you haven't seen that yet. So we do have the Dodgers, all three of us, but we do differ in the AL, and Drew and I both have the Blue Jays making it, and Jared has the Yankees winning it. And then Jared and I do have the Dodgers winning. Drew actually has the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series, which I really wanted to pick. I just can't pick against the Dodgers right now.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough, man. But look, if a team's going to be fun and it can knock them off, I don't see why it can't be the Blue Jays, because I think they have a very, very good shot this year, as much as anybody, to make it into the World Series. So is there anything you guys want to touch on before we move on to the awards?
No, I think
go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
I was just gonna justify me picking the Yankees over the Blue Jays, because that's
that's the only difference. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it goes back to the divisional. I think they're neck and neck, man. That's a tough one to call. And I was close to picking the Blue Jays. But I have faith in the Yankees. I think they're just a little step ahead of the Blue Jays. And Garrett Cole, I think, makes the difference. I know it's one guy and you can only pitch a guy once, but I think that arm right there makes the difference for that team.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it most definitely could too. It's just, for me, I was the only one that didn't pick the Dodgers to win the World Series, so I guess I should kind of differentiate there. I truly think that the Blue Jays are one of the few teams that can match the Dodgers offensively with the offensive firepower that they have compared to the Dodgers, and I actually like the Blue Jays rotation more than I do the Dodgers. Front to back, I do think that the Blue Jays are better from a starting rotation standpoint. We'll see in terms of the bullpen, but I think that they can match them offensively, and I'm really high on a few of their arms in their rotation. So it would just be fun to see Toronto win the World Series as well. So it was, once I got to that point, got down to it, it was tough to pick against them, and I'm really high on a lot of those guys. So I ended up rolling the dice and going with Toronto.
I love Vlad Guerrero, man. He's another one of those guys. Like, he's just fun for.
It's just a joy to watch.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also hoping for a big year out of him as well. All right, so now let's get into our awards for both the AL and the NL. We will start with our MVPs. Dang. And looks like we have a clean sweep as well at the top here in the NL. So the NL MVP goes to none other from all three of us. Congratulations, Juan Soto. Or I should say, I'm sorry, Juan Soto, because we probably just cursed you on that. But this is a guy that, when healthy, I think is without a doubt one of the best, 2 or 3 best players in baseball. And the guy's only 23 years old. Still super young, and the stuff that he's been able to accomplish at his age, is almost unheard of, for sure. So, that's kind of my thoughts on Juan Soto. I'll let you guys have the floor here with Juan Soto.
I mean, every year his walk rate has went up and his strikeout rate has come down. In the last 2 years, that's ended up bringing him on base percentages that have been like in the Barry Bonds type of levels. Like, he just continues to get better every single year, to the point to where I think he is the best player in baseball. And even though I expect the Nationals to be bad, Mike Trout has already shown us that special players can still win MVPs on bad teams. So I think he's the best player in baseball. He's just going to continue to get better. And I think despite being on a Nationals team that I don't expect to fare too well this season, I think the season that he has will be too much to ignore, and he'll finally get, he's been kind of trending toward winning the MVPs. He's inched closer, it seems like, every year. And I think this is the year he gets over the hump and gets it.
I don't have much else to add, but I got a hot take.
Let's go.
The Nationals will be so bad this year. Juan Soto will win MVP, and he'll still be in the National League. He will be traded.
That's pretty hot. I don't know if they're going to trade him.
Good God, I cannot imagine what type of trade package it would take to get Juan Soto. Holy shit.
I think he will go to a contender.
I don't know if
so
there's
young
any way that the Nationals will let him walk. I mean, anything could happen.
There was some talks already.
Me, though.
There's some whispering about it already.
If he goes to a team that's already got a roster contend, they're going to be adding Juan Soto is unreal.
He'll go to the Dodgers.
If he goes to the Dodgers, my God, like you can just cancel the season and just schedule the parade. And I don't usually like to say that, but he's that good, and they're all
the Dodgers or the Yankees. It's always the Dodgers or the Yankees.
That would be so gross. I don't put that into existence. Just don't.
There was some whispers on it, but it'd be interesting for sure. I think the Nationals would be really bad this year, and
yeah, they're definitely going to be.
They're gonna have to do something. Turn that whole thing around.
Well,
at least we all agree that Juan Soto is great.
We do, all three. And then that is where that's the only place where we agree in the MVP, because now we move on to the AL where we all three have a different player. I'm going with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Finally breaking through and getting that. Drew has Luis Robert and Jared has Byron Buxton. So Jared, take us through your MVP pick.
Yeah, another scenario where a player that could potentially be on a bad team. Drew actually is pretty well. I don't know if you're extremely high on, but you mentioned the Twins. Could make some noise. Byron Buxton, man, he's a great player. Like, in his numbers show, and he's definitely, I think this is a breakout year for him. I think last year he showed a lot of signs that he could definitely be a star in the league. I really like him this season. Like, I'm extremely high on him. I think he'll definitely make the Twins competitive for sure.
Yeah, health has really been the only thing that's held him back over the years. I mean, he's a 5-tool player. He's one of those rare guys that has that ability, and he just needs the healthy season to put it all together. And if you disregard the injuries he had last year, he had an incredible season. So if he can, extrapolate that to a full season without injuries, he'll definitely be right there in the mix. He's one of those guys that just leaves you hoping and leaves you wanting more, because he's got all the tools, he's got all the the talent, and he just needs to put it together for a full season. It wouldn't shock me at all. And it's kind of the same story with Luis Robert as well, honestly. I mean, he was on an MVP pace for the 60 something games that he played. He had a WAR over 3 in just 60 something games, and had MVP level numbers if you extrapolate him out to a full season. And so I'm kind of banking on health here as well, to where, with how high I am on the White Sox as a team and how high I am on him as a player, if he can stay healthy, I think he definitely has MVP level, talent. So it'll be really interesting to see if those two guys can stay healthy, because I think there's a lot of untapped upside there if it does happen. Yeah,
well, another guy where, believe it or not, there is still some untapped upside is Vlad Guerrero Jr. Still super young as well. He's actually, it seems like he's just keeps trending up and up and up and up. And every time you think this guy's not going to reach another level, whether it's, ground ball contact, whether it's, or ground ball rate, and then, your contact on the ball and his slashing numbers, he seems to reach another level every year. And he's at the point to where he might already be better than his dad. And
Ooh.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he might be. So look, I called my shot last year on Ohtani. I'm throwing the shot out there this year with Vlad Guerrero. I think this is the year he breaks through. I think he hits 50 plus homers this year. and I think he goes. And takes the MVP award. And I'll be excited, especially because I have the Blue Jays in the World Series. Drew has the Blue Jays winning the World Series, so it's just right that the easiest path for them to get there is on the bat of that guy. So
yeah, he was the guy I was deciding between Luis. I mean, it was Robert, it was Vlad Jr., and it was Ohtani. Those are the three guys I was choosing between. And with the years Guerrero and Ohtani had last year, you can very easily see either one of those guys improve because they are great players. But I basically just took a stab at the guy that could make that leap if he has a full healthy season versus the two guys that already had great seasons last year. But those were the three guys that I was deciding between. So I'm right there with you on Vlad. I think he has a huge year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so now let's move on to the pitchers, and we have the Cy Young Award winners here, and there is a little bit of differences here as well. So Drew and I both have Walker Buehler winning the NL Cy Young, but Jared has Max Scherzer, one last ride.
Old man Max.
Yeah, exactly. Old man Max now pitching for the Mets. Which is really what I told Andrew before we even started the podcast. I was watching some of the game and I was like, dude, it's so weird seeing Max Scherzer with the Mets. Like, it just doesn't look right.
You play 11 seasons with Washington?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was that many because he started out in Detroit. I don't think.
Oh,
he
that's
was,
right. Yeah,
I don't think he was with the Nationals for 11, but he was. I mean,
he's there for a while.
A big part of his very successful career was definitely spent there, though.
Yeah, you say that. Yeah, definitely the best years of his career were there. So, Walker Buehler. I think we touched on him earlier. Drew had some words for him.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think he's going to be the best pitcher on the team that I think will be the runaway best team in the major leagues. And I think he'll, the strides he's made as a pitcher, I think his personal numbers will look well. And then the benefit of playing on the Dodgers, his win-loss record is going to look really good as well. So I think the combination of his personal talent mixed with the team that he's going to be playing with, I think he has the easiest path to the Cy Young. And I think he's good enough just as a player to get it done.
Yeah, he's definitely he's definitely not going to lack for support, whether it's in the run department or the defense department behind him.
No.
Yeah, I think he's pretty safe on that. So yeah, I'm also a big fan of that one. So Jared, what made you go with Max here, other than the fact that he's just a really great pitcher?
He's a great pitcher, and I think he's on definitely a better team with the Mets. Not as good as the Dodgers by any means.
Certainly better than the Nats, though.
Yeah, he's better than the Nationals.
If he gets that fastball going, man, it's gonna be tough to hit. He pitched, as we're recording, he pitched today against Washington, which is like Landon said, it was weird seeing him out there in a Mets jersey against the Nationals, especially.
So weird.
But yeah, man, he gets that fastball going. He's hard to beat. And I do think the Mets are going to be a good team this year. I got them winning, I can't even talk. So I think they'll put up enough runs to support him. And I think he's going to lead the league in wins too. And I got him Cy Young. So.
Yeah, I don't hate it. He was the guy I was kind of trying to decide between whenever I ended up picking Buehler. So I don't hate that at all.
Yeah. All right. So now let's get into the AL Cy Young, where we all three have a different guy. I have Lucas Giolito of the White Sox. Drew has his boy Alek Manoah, who he talked about recently, and he was saying we're going to get to him. So here's his chance. And then Jared, of course, has the Yankees ace Garrett Cole. So Drew, Alek Manoah, you were talking about him earlier. This is your final chance. Let's get this going. Let's see. What's going to make Alek Manoah the Cy Young Award winner this season?
Yeah, I mean, Jose Barrios, Hyun-Jin Ryu. There's a lot of guys to like in this rotation, but I don't know, man. I for whatever reason I ended up watching a lot of Alek Manoah last year in his rookie season, and I really loved what I saw from him on the mound. And I just think he has it's tough to put a name on it or description. The only way I can say it is I think he has the stuff. Like I really do. Just like watching him every time I watch him pitch, I'm like, man, that guy has some shit. And I think that Toronto's going to be a really good team, and I think he's going to emerge as the best pitcher on this rotation. I'm a big Jose Barrios fan. I really am. But I really like Manoah, and it seems like for the last couple of years for the Cy Young, the guys kind of come out of nowhere to win it. Sans Robbie Ray and Blake Snell and guys in the past in the American League, and I think Manoah could easily be that guy. And so I really hesitated with this one because Garrett Cole did feel like the pick to me whenever I was looking at this, because I think the Yankees are going to be a good team. I think a lot about Garrett Cole as a pitcher. It'll be really interesting to see if his whenever they did the whole sticky tack in the middle of the year last year, his numbers took a little bit of a dip.
I'll say, man, he took a hit.
His numbers took a little bit of a dip. I mean, it's not to say he had nothing but bad starts. He still had good starts after that, but his numbers took a dip compared to prior. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues or not. Now that he's had an off season to adjust, but I took a shot here. I mean, in the American League, with the MVP and with the Cy Young, I kind of took a shot on some young guys that I think could really take the leap and take the league by storm.
Yeah, look, that's where you just, you get a little sweat going on, you get a little sweat going, you'd be all right. All right, so I have Lucas Giolito, who I actually picked last year. Got off to a little rough start, so that kind of early on threw his chances off, but he recovered and had a really, really well rest of the season once he got past that little slow start. I think this year he doesn't have a slow start. I think he's in for a really great season. Guy's got dude's changeup is just so dirty. Throws mid-90s fastball. The walk rate was down last year to a career best. He's 27 years old. So this is right around the time that you see a lot of these elite pitchers, they take that next step. They're comfortable in the majors now. All their best stuff, they're in their physical prime right now, at the age of 27 for, the next 4 years. So I think this is where he finally hits his stride. He's going to have a really good roster behind him as well. They're in Chicago. So, I'm banking on last year, what I thought last year. I'm banking on it hitting this year as well. So I'm going to just keep picking him until I eventually get it right. And then I'll just tell everybody how smart I am. So Jared, let's go with Garrett Cole here. I know you kind of we've talked about Garrett Cole so many times already this podcast, but are there any kind of parting words before we go ahead and close out on the Garrett Cole thing?
Well, just to piggyback off what you said about Giolito too, we talked about how bad that division is. So I almost went that route because the amount of teams he'll face throughout the regular season, where Garrett Cole is going to have a tougher road, definitely with Toronto being in that division. But I still think he's the best pitcher in the American League. And they still have plenty of talent with the bats to obviously give him run support and tally up those wins. And he still got his control, man. I know the sticky tack thing was a hot topic, but I think that's all rubbish. I think he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, certainly could be. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
All right, so now let's get on to our rookies of the year. This one hurt for me and Drew for sure to pick a Pittsburgh Pirate, but we both have O'Neal Cruz. Jared going with Hunter Green here. So O'Neal Cruz for me, it's just, he's for the position he plays, it's just power and speed. I mean, this is a guy that, he can still double-digit bases. He can hit double-digit home runs. It's just going to depend on how he grows. And I don't know really what more to say. It's always a crapshoot picking rookies of the year because you never know how these guys are going to adjust. I know last year we were really big on Jared Kelenic, and he got into the majors and just looked lost. The moment he gets, right back down to the minors, he just goes on another tear. So you never really know how these guys are going to adjust. But I have a pretty good idea about how Bobby Witt Jr. is going to adjust. Yeah, so I'll let you add some stuff to O'Neal Cruz here.
He's just kind of a freak of nature. I mean, you don't see too many shortstops that are 6'7", and that's not a very common thing. So, but the dude
And fast
has the
and
dude has an
strong.
unreal arm. I've seen. We'll see what comes with the rumors of him possibly like getting run in the outfield in the minors about them trying to turn him into a minor league, into an outfielder. I hope not. I really want to see a left side of an infield that has O'Neal Cruz and Cabrian Hayes on it. Thankfully, it sounds like Cabrian Hayes avoided a scare on opening day with his wrist. It sounds like he expects to be back in the lineup for the Pirates tomorrow. So,
He'll be playing tomorrow.
as
He
I've
is
already
locked and loaded.
said, it's a crime that O'Neal Cruz started in the minors. He should be on the Pirates opening day roster. And we are all being robbed as baseball fans by the Pirates, them not allowing that to happen. But I think eventually they are so starved for talent, and he is so good that he is going to be up in the league. And whenever he does, it won't take him long to flash his athletic ability, his raw power at the plate. The dude hit a home run in spring training that still makes no sense to me. Basically golfed the damn thing off the ground and hit it like 400 feet. I mean, he's got unreal power at the plate. He's got an unreal arm, regardless if he does play shortstop, outfield, whatever. His arm is out of this world. So
Yeah,
I think a lot of those young guys, a couple of young guys they have there in Pittsburgh are really exciting. But
if Brian
I like
Hayes could just
Jared's
stay
part. I like
healthy,
Jared's
dude.
pick too.
Yeah, and O'Neal Cruz, he did, like Drew said, he did get optioned up to Indianapolis. I will be in Indianapolis here, in a week or a couple weeks. So if he's still up there, I might just kind of stop in, maybe catch a little game.
He's definitely worth the price of admission for sure.
Yeah. So Jared, Hunter Green, take us through Hunter Green, because I really like that pick as well.
Yeah, so this guy's got some he's coming off an injury. It kind of pushed him back a little bit, but he's got some velocity. I don't know if you guys watch much film on him. Like it's fun to watch too. He's got 91 mile per hour changeup that's really hard to hit. He's got some dirty stuff, man. And I honestly think he's gonna make a huge deal for Cincinnati. We kind of, we're joking about that wild card pick, but I'm in on it. I think he's going to be a young arm. They're a rebuilding team for sure. I think that division definitely is obtainable outside of, well, I mean, we picked the Cardinals, but in Milwaukee, I think the Cubs are in the cellar right now. I think Hunter Green's going to be a great Major League Baseball player, and I can easily see him taking National League Rookie of the Year. O'Neal Cruz is definitely, it was really hard to pick against that. Like that's kind of where I went. I was like, I want to take a shot on Green. I want to be different on that one. That velocity is nasty if he gets that arm right.
Yeah, the one guy we'd be remiss not to mention is Suzuki with the Cubs as well.
Yes.
The like $70 million man or whatever it is. That dude's got some power too, and Summers at Wrigley, that the ball is going to be popping off his bat, so it wouldn't shock me at all to see him win it as well.
Yeah, and so now let's move on to the AL and our final award of AL Rookie of the Year. I am taking Bobby Witt Jr. Jared is taking Bobby Witt Jr. Drew is taking his boy, Julio Rodriguez, who he talked about earlier. Bobby Witt Jr., of course, plays for the Kansas City Royals. Normally a shortstop. I believe he was actually playing third base yesterday. And, batted in an RBI.
One in the game.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, he's, like I said, he's already off to a really good start.
Yep.
That's why I said earlier, I have a pretty good idea about how he's probably going to translate this year, because he got off to a pretty good start last night. So, but this guy, he's just been so highly touted for so long, and to see him finally getting that big shot, especially with some of the older veterans they have there as well, to kind of bring him, it almost kind of bridges the generation gap of the Royals. It's pretty cool to watch. So he's I think the sky's the limit for this kid, man, especially if he can, just stay healthy. I think he's clearly, it looks like he clearly is adjusting well between what he did this spring and then just kind of translating that over to his, first. Because, I mean, look, your first big game, I mean, there's a lot of nerves involved in that. And the fact that he had the stones to go out there, and like Drew said, he basically won them that game, on his bat. So, yeah, I mean, this to me would probably be my easiest one out of the Rookie of the Year awards for me to pick. But Drew has a little bit something different. Jared, last word, or you want to add anything here to Bobby Witt?
No, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, I think he's he's a generational talent, man. Like he's going to be around for a long time. He's going to be hopefully a household name to go along with some of these other guys. And like you said too, he's definitely behind some veterans there in Kansas City. I think he's gonna fit in just fine.
All right. Well, last words here on the Rookie of the Year. I will let Drew plead his case for why Rodriguez is going to beat out Bobby Witt Jr.
Look, you talked about how much you love guys that can hit and can run, right? This man can do that. He can hit for power. He can run. He's a guy like a 20 homer, 20 stolen bases type of guy. He's got all the raw tools, man. He's a young, athletic, standout center fielder that I think is going to be just so much fun to watch, man. And I think it's going to be one of those undeniable things that where he pops off the television, where, even people that say baseball's boring to watch on TV, I feel like they're going to be, they'll feel different if they watch Julio Rodriguez. That's the type of guy that I think he can be. So Bobby Witt Jr. I think is the safe pick. He should be the favorite, and he's been the guy, the top prospect, just kind of waiting to come out. So I definitely think he should be the betting odds favorite to win AL Rookie of the Year, and would have been my pick if I didn't go with Julio. But I wanted to show some love to somebody different here.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, the best player, technically the best Rookie of the Year in baseball, is actually my guy on the show 22. It is Big Bob Beignet. He is a Cajun from Louisiana. He is, got the mullet, got the 70s porn stash, about 280.
Power special.
280, huge guy. He's a pitcher and hitter, similar to Ohtani. So he will strike you out. He throws heat. That's the only thing he does. He has no changeup. He has no slider. Straight four seamers in your face. And he will knock in 40 home runs. That's what he does. So if you are on the show, make sure to hit me up and get this work with Big Bob Beignet. That's where we're at, baby. The Raging Cajun. So that pretty much sums up our 3-man rush, non-football related podcast, baseball predictions. I know it's a little bit of a change, but we really thank you guys so much for listening. Drew, I'm going to pass you the bat here. I'll let you take us home, kind of like Bobby Witt did last night whenever he won Rookie of the Year. Go ahead and take us home, and any part, because I know this is your show. This is the one you look for. You love baseball, so I want you to kind of bring us home for the baseball show.
Yes, I mean, first and foremost, thank you guys for listening. If you are hanging out with us, I know the majority of the content that we push out is football related. So for most of you that are subscribed, that's probably what you're here for. If you chose to stick around anyway, hopefully you have some vested interest in baseball like I do, like we do, and you were able to enjoy some of this. If you are still here, make sure if you're on the YouTube channel to drop down in the comments, let us know which teams we're wrong on in terms of who we left out of the playoff picture, who we have winning divisions that we shouldn't, who's winning the awards that we didn't pick, all that type of stuff. Let us know what your thoughts are on the 2022 season as well. And then while you're on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind, of course, subscribing to the channel, turning on those notifications so that you're aware of when the 1 or 2 episodes a week go live, and liking the video as well. Hopefully you've liked something that you've heard at this point if you've been with us for the last hour plus. And so that support is appreciated. And then, of course, any other podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever the case may be, we're there as well. We would appreciate you guys to follow, subscribe, like, whatever that platform wants you to do. Any support we can get, we appreciate it. We've had our fantasy baseball draft. We've had our MLB predictions for the 2022 season. I'm sure we're going to dig right back into the NFL. So, for those of you guys that are waiting around for more NFL content, that's coming right down the road. The NFL draft is less than a month away. It is at the end of this month. We are in April.
I was actually going to say we're actually three weeks away. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. It is exact. Yeah. So it is NFL draft month. So you can certainly bet more mock drafts are coming, more NFL draft content's coming. And then once the NFL draft happens, NFL draft reaction content will be coming as well. So we're just getting started, but it was really, just for me personally, it was so much fun to get to sit down for an hour or so and talk about baseball, because this is still my true love. And so it was a lot of fun to get to hash this out with you guys.
Yeah, for certain. Yeah.
Nice change of pace.
Yeah, definitely. So That being said, I am ready for mock draft 2.0 next week. Especially with some of the news that's been coming out, some of the trades that have been made. We have a few trades go down. So we're really excited to bring that to you guys as well. So thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter as well at 3Man Rush Podcast. Just make sure to support us, if you do like the content, and we really appreciate everything, all the support you guys have been showing, especially recently. A lot of these videos are popping off, and we really appreciate that. So that being said, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Get ready for more NFL draft stuff, and let's go Cardinals.